Yes, nonsense and analysis. Yeah. Hi, dear viewer, and I'm telling you, uh, high drama at the All Africa Individuals. High drama. Let's start first at the women's section. So the women's section, what is interesting is that remember that there were two players who were having 6 points. Okay, it was Wafa Shrouk from Egypt and uh, Nasir Lina from Algeria. So what happened is that on the first board, Mohamed Zaiki Jana actually manages to beat Nasir Lina. So then Nasir Lina stays on six. And Mohamed Zaki Jana is also on six. On board two, Anzel Lopsha was playing against Wafa Shrouk. She unfortunately lost. And Wafa Shrouk now has got 7 points. So in that situation, Wafa Shrouk has been done a favor by her countrymate and is now in the lead with 7 points, looking very good. Jessie February won her game, so she's on 5 points and is also so sort of in the mix, can finish nicely. So yeah, a very interesting development there. Now let's go over to the open section because this is the game I wanted I want us to have a look at. In the open section, so Bassem, Amin Bassem was cruising nicely, and I think maybe yesterday he may have made a mistake because yesterday, as I say, I'm not sure if it is the game. I saw the game, but as I was saying, it was very much un-Bassem-like the game. It looked like he was very casual in his game with the white pieces against his countrymate there. And I mean, under normal circumstances, you expect him at least to put the player under pressure and maybe get the point. So, I mean, okay, maybe the other player did play well, but to me, it looked very casual, sort of the game, as if he had already thought he's already won the tournament. Anyway, I didn't think it was a big issue when I saw it because, I mean, he's been playing well, and I thought, okay, he gives a draw, and then he's just gonna cruise nicely to the finish line. But Ahmed Adly, Egyptian grandmaster as well, had other plans. And actually, today, Ahmed Adly dethrones Bassem Amin. And what is interesting, though, is that he beats Bassem, and on board two, Belashne from Algeria, the grandmaster from Algeria, manages to beat Ahmed from Egypt. And with that, he jumps into the lead. He's got now 6.5. And so what has to happen now, and the number of players have joined in with 6. So most probably he has to play against Ahmed Adly, and then we will see what will happen. Yeah, in the last round. So all to play for in the last round. An exciting finish. Some games are still on. Oh, I see now the result. Unfortunately, yeah, Michael Simpson has lost. Now I see the result. Yeah, so he's still on form. So yeah, not a good result for him. But okay, nonetheless, let's have a look at this game. So let's jump into the action. So Ahmed Adli plays white and he plays d4. And we're having a King's Indian, yeah, Bassem. This is his main defense against d4. He used to play the Dutch when he was younger, but he's been playing the Kensington for a number of years now. And he plays e5. And now, in terms of preparation, I think that Ahmed Adly gets it spot on somehow. He chooses a line which is not the most ambitious line, but it is maybe one of the lines that are uncomfortable here because white keeps a small little edge and black is very close to equalizing all the time, but it's never really equal. As soon as black in such lines, as soon as black equalizes, the game is dead. It's a draw. But black is always just close by, but never gets there type of thing. So it's a very nice, I think, a good decision preparation-wise. So he takes on e5, and he plays bishop g5. So Bassem plays h6. Yeah, I know there is also bishop e6 here, but h6 is by the way completely playable. Queen takes d8, rook takes d8, bishop takes. They are following theory, and it's a pawn sacrifice. So black sacrifices a pawn. But for this, black has got a lot of activity. And white dare not allow black to play a move like e4 so that this bishop becomes alive. Because if that happens, then black can play for the initiative. Because white does not have a black square bishop, see? So white plays e4. But now, okay, the consequence of e4 is that the d4 square is weakened. So then we understand the next move, bishop g4, to eliminate the knight and to sit on d4. So the position is, this is still theory, by the way. b5 is what I was saying. Black is almost touching equality, almost touching, but not yet there. And white is pressing slightly. So rook takes b3. Interesting enough, this was all played before. I checked the games and the theory. So before, bishop takes f3 was played before in this position, and knight d4 is a new move. And what is of interest to me, I think that, because, Bassem is extremely well prepared. Knight d4 is, by the way, the Indian's top choice move. So it means that Bassem is in his preparation. Yeah, he has prepared this line, and it is supposed to give equality, which may be explained. I don't know. It's a situation where because remember, when you are preparing and you reach equality, you are no longer searching and working at the position with the same vigor as if you are slightly worse. When you're slightly worse, you're working harder. So I think that here, knight takes d4, e takes d4, knight takes f6, king takes f6, and rook c1. So, okay, what is happening here? What's happening basically is that white is struggling to get out without creating too many weaknesses. This pawn on d4 is destabilizing white a little bit, and these pawns a2, b3, they are on white squares, and they could be a problem, later on. And possibly here, I think Bassem makes his first mistake, and it is sort of, yeah, I think he misses something, but it's also in evaluation, maybe, because, he plays here the move bishop e2. And bishop e2 looks very natural, but the problem with bishop e2, I guess, is that after f3, king f2, and you play d3, the bishop becomes a little bit not so active. But it's not a losing move. It's not. It's still supposed to hold a draw. But there possibly was a slightly easier way, and that is now to go for these two pawns, at least to put pressure on them. Like d3 was more concrete. The threat is now d2, of course. So f3, bishop e6, and now the question is, how do you play as white? And more importantly, how do you bring your rook on a1? Excuse me. How do you bring your rook on a1 into the game? So what he plays, just have a drink of water here. What he plays, dear viewer, what white should then, what is recommended by the engine and analysis is rook c3, and then rook a5. So now we see then, that this would destabilize white. It makes life not so easy for white because this rook has to stay guard, and there are tactics of bishop takes b3 in some lines should this rook move. For example, if bishop f1 d2, and we can tell that black is very close to equalizing in this position. Yeah. Of course, white is still better, but black is within striking range of equality. Yeah. And the king is quite active as well. But nonetheless, I don't think that bishop e2 is a losing move. I just think that it makes life very difficult practically. So king f2. And now notice that you cannot play d2 because of check, and then I pick up the bishop, of course. So he plays rook b6, rook c3, rook a6. So he's trying this idea now to try and hold the pawn. And but you see, notice the difference when the bishop is here or if the bishop is over there. It's very subtle and not easy to pick up. This is a difficult endgame. And so now Adly plays a4. So he has this chance of playing a4. And now the argument is that the rook could maybe move. So he plays rook to d6. This is a good move. He's threatening d2. d2, king takes d1. So in essence, forcing white to play bishop f1. Because otherwise, d2 is coming. So rook this was a good move. Bishop f1, he takes on f1. And now he plays d2. And we have this position. Slightly better for white, but should be a draw. Adly plays rook c2. And right here, I think there was a relatively easy draw. Well, I analyzed the position, with the engine. This is a very difficult position, and it's not the type of position that you can assess. You have to be extremely concrete. So as I say, when I say that it is a draw, it's because I did double check and I analyzed a little bit, not deeply, but I analyzed a little bit like what are the concrete lines. So the concrete line that the engine shows here is rook takes b3, which I think Bassem calculates, but there's a point to this. So rook takes d2, take on d2, and I think maybe he stopped around here, and he used shall we call it his intuition, and he probably thought, okay, you know what? If I play rook a6, excuse me, rook a3, the opponent would play rook d6 check, followed by a rook, because now the king has to go back, yes? So king, excuse me, goes back like rook a6. And this is a difficult position for black, for sure. Very, very difficult. The king is passive, yeah? The king is passive, and you cannot perpetual check because the king can come out. I take this pawn and I attack f7. This is not easy. But there is a point here. In this position, instead of rook a3, which I think that Bassem possibly analyzes to here, but instead of going rook a3, you can play king e6. This is the move that the computer points out. So king e6 immediately cuts out the activity that white would enjoy otherwise. And possibly the position is difficult, but it should be a draw, because now rook a3 is coming. If you play some rook d5, maybe I can play f5 immediately, yeah? And we can try to weaken e4, So this was possible. But here, Bassem plays h5, rook b2, king e6, h4, plays f5, understandable, grabs, takes, king e2, rook c3 should still be drawing. Rook takes d2, and we reach this position, rook c2, king d6, rook c8. And now in this position, dear viewer, once again, the eyes tell us white is better, but black should hold this position. But we have seen, for example, Magnus Carlsen, for example, win such positions because it's so difficult uh, to hold these positions. You know, you have to be so accurate. And here, you know, it's a very difficult position. As we say, you know, it's very concrete. And I was just watching, and the rook before, the engine says rook before is a blunder, you know. And of course, as I say, you cannot assess this position. So I had to then look into variations. Why is rook before a blunder? What is the difference? And there is a difference. And here's the difference. So if, for example, instead of rook before, we play rook a3, okay? And now let us do the same thing as, there's a point to this. Rook h8, check, very important that I do this. And now I take on a4. Now, when you take on h5, I have this move f4 check. This is the important point. F4 check. And after she takes f4, king e6. Now we are in a situation where still difficult, but black should hold a draw in this position. The key thing there is that white's pawns have been split. Now, and as they are split, it becomes easier to hold the draw. Still a lot of work, but easier than in the game. So what happens now? The difference, though, is that when you play rook before, now rook h8. Now, do you see the difference? Yeah. Do we see the difference now? The difference now is that when you're going for these checks, you know, you're not going to take the pawn. So rook b2 check, king e3. Rook b3 check, king f4, I go. Rook b4 check, I take the pawn. Right? So you're not holding. And so he realizes now that, look, the problem is that if Bassem takes here and Adly takes there, the problem now is that white is going to have two connected pawns, two connected pass pawns. And it is known that two connected pass pawns they win very easily because they support each other. You know, they can run on their own almost. So he tries a 4, but then of course Adly will not agree to exchange, to split his pawns rather. And yeah, this is now completely lost, unfortunately. He cuts off the king. And as I was saying, the pawns support themselves. And this is unfortunately lost now. Because if you play rook b8, then h6, and the pawns are supporting themselves. Rook g8, h7. If you go rook b1, it's too late because I queen. And you can't queen because you'll get checkmated. Your pieces are too far away from the king. And if you take the pawn, if you take the rook, I will take the pawn a2. And this is lost. So wow, what a turn of events. Though, you know, I think that okay, it's not vintage Bassem performance. And I don't actually remember the last time Bassem lost in the African individual. It's been, you know, many editions. I'd have to double check this. But yeah, a painful loss for him. But actually, if you think about it, I think Adly played this very cleverly. You know, he didn't jump on him. He didn't jump on Bassem, but he made Bassem's life not so easy. As I was saying, you know, in a comic way, that he's almost there on half, but he's not really getting there. And that psychologically is tiring and frustrating as well. Because if you think about it, from move one, Bassem has been playing for a draw. You know, that's very exhausting. He knows that he cannot get more than a draw. So that is the specific line that Adly manages to choose there. So very clever choice, very clever opening preparation. And I think when you see this game, you start to understand that the players know each other. and Adly possibly look for something very uncomfortable for Bassem. And it doesn't happen a lot when you do preparation, but you can get lucky enough that you get just the right position that will make your opponent's life difficult. Fantastic game. I like it. And with that, we are now having the last round. So I haven't looked at the pairing. Let me check if the pair, no, some games are still on. So the pairing is not out. Don't refresh this. I don't think the pairing is out. So we'll have to wait. But I expect that Adly should play against Pelachne. And then, yeah, we are going to see. So fireworks, and makes it even more exciting. So, yeah, keep a close eye, dear viewer. I will certainly be following that. And yeah, all to play for. And so please do comment, and give some variations that maybe some things I might have missed. And also, yeah, uh, uh, tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow is the final round, and I will certainly be watching the last round. It's going to be exciting stuff. Yeah. Okay. Cheers, dear viewer. I hope you enjoyed that. And with that, till we meet again, with that, I say checkmate.